Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about my predictions based on astrology for the week of May 20th. First, let's quickly recap the predictions for the previous week. My predictions were, as far as the stock market direction, that I thought maybe Monday will be a 55% up with a strong probability of it going down by the end of Monday, and that the rest of the week will be a down week. And actually on Monday we had a really big drop in the market, like 3% plus for Nasdaq, I believe, and the market actually went up Tuesday through Thursday, but then on Friday it did eventually go down. So I would say overall it was incorrect, although we did have Monday and Friday did have large drops, but overall I guess the week was up slightly. So another prediction that I made was, I guess, a sort of a two-part prediction. One was that there's an ongoing influence that basically has to do with Pluto and Saturn transiting together through Capricorn that usually corresponds with large-scale disasters. And additionally, specifically for the 15th through the 17th of May, I expected that there will be an even increased, a stronger than usual probability of strong earthquakes, mudslides, various disasters, problems with weather, and maybe even industrial disasters. There was indeed a really large earthquake, 7.5, in Papua New Guinea, and let's see, that one, I believe it was on Tuesday, so my thoughts were that the worst days were like Wednesday through Friday, and the earthquake was on Tuesday. At the same time, there were all kinds of news about really bad flooding in Europe, and particularly in northern Italy and in Bosnia, as well as in Paraguay, and those floods in various places have caused either bridge collapses, mudslides, or just in general, obviously, distress for the population. The reason that it's worth noting, specifically where those events have occurred, is that right now we're just kind of a middle, getting into the second part of May, and the worst times for the 2019, I believe, will be June and September, and this influence of this Pluto-Saturn conjunction will continue in 2020. So when the smaller, sort of faster-moving planets transit and make difficult transits to the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, we have sort of like a trigger events that may coincide and you know, with larger events or larger disasters, I should say. And so what we see right now in May, in places that seem to be affected by those kind of a smaller, shorter-term transits, will be the same places that I would expect to see some more kind of further problems. So basically, it makes most sense logically if you have saturated, you know, water, soil that's saturated with water, you can expect additional mudslides or collapses of old buildings. At the same time, like places like northern Italy can see also earthquakes. So places that already begin experiencing distress in mid-May, I would expect, unfortunately, things there to continue into end of May, and especially in June, and then sort of a comeback, maybe additional blow or resolution of whatever is kind of building up right now there in September. That's for 2019, and things may also continue in 2020, but I'm not going to get that far ahead of myself. Another place that in the US that had experienced some problems that also relate to flooding, or basically things malfunctioning that may relate, that may eventually result in a large-scale sort of catastrophe, or rather was New Orleans. So that's another place that, especially in September, where that's a hurricane season in the US, we may potentially see this revisited. So what happened was there was really heavy rain around May 12th, and the 5 major city pumps, water pumps, went offline, and that's basically also what has caused really major flooding back when Hurricane Katrina hit in New Orleans. So with, like I said, June and September expected to be, astrologically speaking, wet, really wet months, and times where aspects are really intense and kind of may trigger really strong disasters, it is definitely worrisome that New Orleans have shown that they're kind of already experiencing some sort of preliminary problems. So it is another place that I would be watching closely. So let's see. Another prediction that I made for last week, specifically for May 16th through 18th, so Thursday through Saturday, was that there will be increased focus on long-term planning and some sort of governmental regulations or decisions made by governments or, like I said, corporations that may relate to finance, banks, steel, metals, large-scale construction, recycling, and nuclear power. We may hear about some long-term projects, things that maybe require really large investments, and again, only governments and large corporations can really handle that, or they're the only ones that have power to actually make things happen. So the news that I seen for last week that correspond to that were two news related specifically to steel tariffs. So one was that the US had terminated Turkey's preferential trade agreement, but they also have tariffs on imports of Turkish steel to 25%. Another piece of news was that US lifted tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. So that was announced last Friday on the 17th. So the dates exactly correspond, and the topic sort of the predictions, the nature of the prediction corresponds. And additional piece of news that also kind of relate to that same, I guess, Saturn-Pluto theme, and the dates again that occurred between the 16th and 18th, in this case on the 16th, were one, that Philippines had recalled diplomats from Canada because there was some sort of basically Canada, I guess, failed to ship back some of the illegally disposed garbage from maybe some, I'm not sure if months or years back. And so Philippines had recalled diplomats, and I guess they're upset over that garbage, basically. So it's a recycling theme. And again, issues in the levels of government. And another new piece of news was that there was basically a concrete dome that was built in one of the atolls in the Pacific, in the Marshall Islands, apparently is leaking nuclear waste that had previously been buried there after the atomic bomb tests. And that's very unfortunate, that's very scary. And that is definitely a Saturn-Pluto manifestation here, because anything that's like a large-scale construction, again, handled by governments, large corporations, so something like a concrete dome definitely falls into that category, and something that's buried underground and or involves nuclear waste, nuclear power, nuclear bombs, is definitely handled by Pluto. So with those two together, again, slowly coming together and being inspected in the coming up weeks by Mars, as well as North Node, I mean, this situation may possibly escalate. And again, Saturn rules projects that take things over a really long time, so we're talking months and years. So this may again be a start of something that we may be hearing on for months to come. But again, June definitely sees some bad aspects, and previously similar transits had corresponded with nuclear accidents. So we will see, basically, that could be, you know, one of the really large disasters that unfortunately may unfold. Hopefully, obviously not, but that's the signature of this transit. Another piece of news, I guess, that may or may not really be good representations of prediction that I made. So another prediction I had was for the 16th through 18th of May that there may be increased forex market news and larger than usual currency value fluctuations, and particularly Euro and USD. I actually have not seen any larger than usual fluctuations specifically in Euro USD. I have just seen news around the 16th of May about China's yuan nearing 2019 low, as well as British pound slumping to the 3 months low on the no deal Brexit fears. And so there were some news about Forex, but I wouldn't say that necessarily fulfilled this prediction. I was expecting primarily like the Euro USD move larger than usual, and I didn't really see that. Let's see. So one last prediction worth mentioning was that I thought around Friday, the May 17th, that there will be increased news about gold and silver and or larger than usual price fluctuations. I haven't seen anything on Friday in particular. However, on Monday, the 14th of May, I have seen some news about basically gold prices rising due to the tensions between US and China over the their trade war, and also on specifically May 14th, gold had rallied to the 1-month top. So there was some news about gold rising in particularly, but it was on the 14th of May rather than the 17th. So let's see. So for this week, the week of May 20th, 2019, the ongoing global influence again is about the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. As I said, it will be, it is becoming kind of more, closer and closer, and so it's becoming, its influence is becoming more intense, and specifically the end of May through pretty much the entire month of June, it will be aspected not only by the moon nodes, but also Mars, which definitely is a trigger for accidents, disasters. Also, there will be Mercury coming to join kind of Mars shortly after, so we will have interesting times coming up in June. In the meantime, for this week, 20th and 21st of May, there may be increased news about banks, finance, as well as farming and construction. So there may be some increased surprises or news about new approaches or sudden changes in value in related commodities such as sugar, and or there may be just increased news about some sales, contracts, agreements between, say, companies that are in that domain, such as, like I said, finance, farming, construction, and or deal with sugar, or perhaps jewelry, things like that. So then another ongoing prediction that's global, and that's lasting between approximately May 16th or July 28th, and on my blog at tolstunka.com I have specific dates where this influence may be the strongest. There may be again increased news about banks and finance, as well as farming, food production, and there unfortunately may be news about farmlands being polluted, public health safety issues, or homeland security concerns, and focus on sort of domestic businesses, or trying to, countries trying to protect their businesses at home, protecting their population, and or experiencing some inside threats, or maybe even infighting among various communities, or basically their domestic production or their lands being somehow threatened by either just pollution from, say, natural disasters, or from obviously outside competitors. So this influence is the strongest approximately June 9th through 21st, as well as the 23rd is also a sort of heightened influence day where there may be additional news about some more serious events, either military tensions or some disasters that involve water, chemicals, or oil, as well as international travel and shipments. Ongoing prediction about the U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I expect May-June there may be increased news about her either having health problems or potentially some just being very busy at work, or even considering stepping down. I haven't heard that. In fact, I have heard, I guess recently, that she is intending to stay in work for next few years at least. So I haven't seen that come true just yet. And lastly, ongoing prediction for China that there may be some increased, or rather that they have increased probability of earthquakes, disasters, and problems, tensions related to oil, navy, pharmaceuticals, pollution, and long-distance transportation, especially over water and railroads. So let's see. So specifically for the stock market, I think that, the direction will be up Monday through Wednesday, and then down Thursday through Friday. So Monday looks like a busy news day with increased events, news about banks and financial institutions, as well as communication transportation businesses, and or like retail sales. So for example, cars, airplane manufacturers, airlines, social media, and online retailers, something like Amazon maybe. For the US specifically, May 20th and 21st, so Monday, Tuesday, may see increased news about various new initiatives that are aiming to specifically promote or defend domestic businesses and earnings. So basically save money at home, protect banks, real estate, or farmers, and it may even specifically relate to like cattle or some other farm animals, and there's various service industries, like post office, all those, police, etc. So there may be either increased news about jobs in the workforce, or about like employment and perspectives for women specifically. There may be some new initiatives announced, or some aggressive moves may be made to specifically protect against domestic businesses and or improve the situation, such as for farmers, or like I said, for women workers, to increase employment rates in general, or bring jobs home. And these news may be either neutral or positive on Monday, but on Tuesday they may kind of, if there's an initiative announced on Monday, on Tuesday it may receive a pushback or some anger. So there may be kind of a negative view of that come Tuesday. Then for the Tuesday specifically, globally, it again may be a very busy news day, but this time the focus may be on the communication, transportation, industries, and education, as well as retail sales. So the news may be about new businesses, new leaders, new initiatives, or maybe an existing business splitting into multiple businesses, or perhaps a contract or agreement calling for multiple partners. So things that basically divide into multiple streams, and or a new project that may come up, or a new leader may be announced. So let's see. So the aim of those initiatives would be to improve how services are delivered, to improve the speed with which news are delivered, or to offer better services to especially young people, or online. So maybe improving shipping speed from, by some online retailer, or shipping to more destinations, shipping faster, shipping, faster to people who are young, or, are students, or improving education quality. So those are the kind of topics that may be in the news on Tuesday, May 21st. For May 22nd, Wednesday, there may be some minor positive news for businesses related to like IT, high-tech, telecoms, aerospace, power generation, electric vehicles. So maybe increased investments, or just news about projects proceeding well and those businesses doing well. For the US, May 22nd through 24th, may see, so it's Wednesday through Friday, may see increased news about sort of new vision for the country, or new goals, or goals that are self-serving, kind of focus on the interests of the country itself as opposed to its partners. And those particularly may be related to like laws, immigration, long-distance travel or shipment, international partnerships in general, and anything that's like legally binding. So if there are any negotiations or kind of considerations about immigration, it will be, decisions may be made, or discussions may be focused on, again, what's best for the US, and basically representatives, I guess, might be somewhat more kind of focused on domestic interests rather than on more balanced partnerships. So the announcements may involve like new projects or new developments in those areas, and about maybe even somewhat aggressive or military-related actions to pursue countries' goals in the related areas. So maybe some shipment overseas, but to locations that have, I guess, maybe a military bases, or sales of weapons, for example, or sending some ships somewhere, or personnel, that again, military personnel, to again protect sort of domestic interests, and or legalizing some agreements that are international, but again being a little bit more stubborn about protecting sort of the country's vision and goals. Those are also the dates, 22nd through 24th of May, that in the US specifically we may experience kind of problems with weather, where maybe it's too hot, fires, we may hear about fires like explosions or accidents, so things somewhat kind of some disruption of some sort. And these may affect the long distance transportation, travel, and or may involve foreign nationals, or higher education such as professors or students, as well as lawyers and judges. So on the 23rd of May, Thursday, there may be minor concerns about banks, financial institutions, real estate, and cryptocurrencies, and those concerns may have to do with basically either some businesses not being seen as, I guess, valuable because they don't offer some tangible value, such as, you know, cryptocurrency doesn't really exist because it's virtual. I guess there may be concerns about the value, or business maybe exists online only. Again, the questions will be, is it really tangible enough to be valued? So that's for Thursday. And Friday, there may be increased probability of negative and stressful news about, actually, I'm sorry, that's for the 23rd through the 24th, so it's still Thursday and Friday, both increased probability of stressful news for like businesses that relate to pharmaceuticals, pollution, you know, and healthcare, as well as increased probability of accidents, attacks, and bad weather, again related to heat and fires, but this time it's for the entire world. And if we're talking about pharmaceuticals or healthcare, they focus maybe on infectious diseases or food poisoning, for example, related to farm animals or produce. And there may also be some aggressive moves made by, I guess, related businesses or by somebody regulating those businesses where too many projects are started, or if there are companies that are publicly traded, there may be some overselling of their stock, or some project may be announced that maybe it was started, but it can't really be completed. There is not enough, I guess, funding, or not enough energy really, and it's kind of abandoned, or it ran out of steam for some reason, or the project is started, but the start is seen as kind of a poor start. It's not, again, doesn't have enough energy sort of behind it. Or say if there's a drug trial, it may turn out that the results are not what was expected, and or there's some complications such as overheating, fever, infections, and digestive problems. So those are all possibilities for the 23rd through the 24th of May, especially 23rd, which is Thursday. So finally, Friday, slight probability, 55% chance of it going down. I guess I don't have any special comments about Friday specifically. I also made additional, in my blog, I also do some glance ahead kind of section where I cover upcoming months a little bit as well. And I put a new prediction for China, and that's covering May 22nd through 27th, as well as June 4th through the 14th. And what I see as far as transits to the natal chart of China is that there may be escalation of tensions with international partners. And this may kind of include fighting over leadership and power position, arguments over contracts, aggressive negotiations, or contracts that are somehow deceptive or missing details, or they're confusing. Maybe there's an agreement, but without the details it's not clear whether basically it's a positive or negative circumstances, and or there may even be military posturing, so some sort of a, I wouldn't say, it doesn't look like it's going to be serious where something really truly explodes, but rather it's just some tensions and negotiations that are not very friendly. And so these, again, I think will be primarily occurring on June 4th or 14th, with 14th being the date where some sort of conclusion may be reached. And again, I'm not sure that it will be necessarily an agreement, rather it actually may be just another kind of escalation point where just somebody needs to make some sort of a statement. So June 14th in particular, that's for China. And I guess curiously, and I'm sure it's not a coincidence, it overlaps also with this period, as I just mentioned, June, pretty much end of May through end of June, that is going to be quite difficult and globally in general. And I'm wondering if these things coincide where maybe things start again with tensions with China, maybe probably with US, about various agreements, and they may escalate such that around 14th of June, tensions kind of reach peak, or there's some sort of announcement made, and because of these tensions, again, ongoing continuing tensions or escalation of it, there may be even additional problems for the stock market globally in general. And like I said, the period of June, beyond just the stock market, unfortunately will be prone to having various like earthquakes, mudslides, disasters, and at the same time we're going to have in June fairly tight square between Neptune and Jupiter, and that coincides with problems of Neptunian nature, having too much of a good thing, if you can think of it like too much drugs, too much water, too much oil, water that doesn't flow where it's supposed to be flowing. So maybe there's not enough water in one place and too much water in another place, or water comes to some sort of barrier and because it can't flow, it ruptures through and disrupts travel, for example. Or again, too much oil, and it can be too much oil in the water, meaning pollution, problems with chemicals, problems with pharmaceuticals, or even with drugs, problems that either involve religious figures, places of worship, or movies, movie stars, and like I said, too much of a good thing. So things may start where it's as something positive, maybe a movie is really popular, but then kind of there's oversaturation. Like I said, it's oversaturation with water, oversaturation with oil, oversaturation with some movie and or some actor being too much kind of in the news, where eventually it leads to kind of problems where, okay, it's too much, and then things just suddenly become hard to handle and get out of control, where, like I said, saturated soil may give way and there's a mudslide and old structures fall apart, or too many chemicals pollute soil and there's problems with farmers. So again, with Saturn and Pluto being in Capricorn, things that are in sort of high positions, literally on the mountains, or positions in authority, or things that are old established, they may fall down. So things that have been seen as kind of everybody was expecting these things to last, suddenly they're, because of some erosion or even too much fame, suddenly this person falls down, or too much water and the structure falls down. So that's something that kind of vaguely, I guess, just to describe it vaguely, that I see for end of May and June in general. But at the same time, end of May and early to mid-June, I see tense aspects to China's horoscope as well. So that's about it. So let me know if you like this. Hopefully this was interesting and fun, and you'll come back for more of my weekly prediction videos. And that's all for now. Have a great week. Bye.